Okay, I believe we're recording now. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to Kalamazoo Venture Tuesday. Everyone, please do mute your microphones when you're not speaking, but do feel free to leave your camera on so we can see your smiling faces. For those who have not joined us before, Kalamazoo Venture Tuesday is an opportunity to see inside the minds of investors as they provide feedback to our company presenters. The purpose of KVT is not to secure immediate investment, but rather it's a teaching opportunity for participating companies and for members of the audience. Each of our quarterly meetings typically features a panel of 3 active investors as well as 3 startup or early stage companies. Each presenter will have 10 minutes to pitch, followed by 10 minutes of feedback from our investor panel. Investors, we ask that you be kind, but you be honest. We want to hear the good, the bad, the ugly. Let the presenters really know what you enjoyed, what was effective, maybe where they could strengthen their presentation. We're not going to be taking questions from the audience verbally, but those of you in the audience, you may ask questions or even make comments using the chat tool, which is located in the conversation bubble. Most of you guys will find it at the top of your screen. We're going to get started, first of all, by introducing our esteemed panel of investors. So Lindsay, I'd like to start with you. Would you like to introduce yourself? You're muted.
Well, I followed your instructions fairly literally there, Sandra. But my name's Lindsay Aspergren. I'm a general partner with North Coast Technology Investors. We're a fund that's based primarily in Ann Arbor with an office in Midland. We have about $160 million in capital under management, over 5 funds. We invest kind of broadly, kind of half life sciences, half enterprise stuff, things that have software in it. I'm also a venture partner and spending a lot of time right now with NTT Venture Capital. We've raised a couple of $500 million funds in the last 3 years and are looking to invest more.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. And next we have Chris Stallman. Would you like to introduce yourself? Unmute first.
Thank you, Sandra. I appreciate that. I'm Chris Stallman. I'm one of 5 partners with Fontenal's Partners. We're a mobility-focused venture capital firm based in Detroit with an additional office in Boston. Over the course of the last 12 years, we've invested in about 55 companies to date, fortunate to have 20 exits to date, about $280 million of committed capital across 3 funds. We're generally seed to Series B investors and very thematically focused in the future of mobility as well as the enabling technologies that support that ecosystem.
Great, wonderful, thank you. Rob Ball, have you joined us? I see a couple participants with phone only, and I can't tell if that's Rob.
Yeah, I am here. For some reason, I can't connect online, so I'll have to keep working on that. But
I'm sorry about
Sandra.
that.
Yeah, no problem. This is Rob Ball from Genesis Innovation Group. We're an early stage medical device investor, and we have about a little under $100 million under management. We invest out of our Cultivate MD capital funds, and we're a little bit different in that we invest both human and financial capital into our portfolio. So we're pretty operationally engaged in the companies in which we invest. We've got about 40 people on staff at Genesis for all functional areas. We can kind of stand up a medical device company if need be. So that's myself. We've got about 13 companies in our portfolio.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, thank you all for being here and for the audience for being here to support as well. So we will get started with our first presenter and potentially our only presenter today. We have David Yanis with us from Andonix. So David, I'm going to turn it over to you. Go ahead and pull your slides up.
All right, let me see when you can see my screen.
We can see your screen. Are you in presentation mode? There you go. And yes. You have 10 minutes to present. Whenever you are ready, you may begin.
Well, thank you so much, Sandy, for the invitation and everyone for the privilege of your time. My name is David Yanis, and I am CEO and co-founder of Andonix. Andonix is the creator of a smart workstation and Safely Pass. Together, they're the essential connected worker platform for people that don't have a choice to work from home. A little bit about myself and my team. I was born and raised in Mexico, half of my life in Mexico, the other half in Michigan. I became an entrepreneur by need at age 14. not really by choice. I basically was homeless, and I started to collect and sell aluminum cans to supplement my income and stay at school. By the time I graduated as an industrial engineer, I was selling millions of these cans to gold and aluminum in San Antonio, Texas. And that was really the life experience that made me an entrepreneur by heart. I was passionate about it. And after exiting that opportunity, I followed my second passion to automotive manufacturing, had great mentors, joined Brembo Rossini. That's where I met my co-founder about 20 years ago. And then following opportunity, I ended up in Detroit, Michigan, following those mentors. In 2004, I had my second chance to start another company to supply products and services to automakers and their supply chain. We basically, I moved to Mexico back in 2005 to start business there. 2007, I went to Brazil, started the business in Brazil. Last year, that company was close to $100 million in annual recurring revenue, 21 locations, 2,000 plus team members, and hundreds of large enterprise customers. But getting that company to that level was extremely hard in a labor-intensive business or labor-intensive industry, very complex supply chain and very demanding customers. And that's why I decided to start Andonix. And I put together a team, my co-founder, Oliver, an amazing executive in a Fortune 500 company running global business operations, Kinesh, an amazing technology executive, and Karen, an amazing business-to-business SaaS controller. So together we put together Andonix. And to explain you what is exactly the problem we're solving, I want to take you back in a little history lesson. Think about 100 years ago, Ford Model T assembly line. And then fast forward 100 years to today with the Tesla Model 3 assembly line. This is actually a picture of their operations. And when you look at these operations and you look at the way people are working, really we don't see a lot of difference. There is not a lot of innovation there. And the challenge is that people are still being trained, guided, directed by paper-based systems. And why is that a challenge? Well, first, there are a lot of frontline workers. We're talking that in America, only 10 million are directly involved in manufacturing. And for every person or any new worker entering the space, therefore getting out. And that's a challenge. And why is a problem working, not being able to work from home and not being connected or working with paper-based systems? Well, first, communication. Frontline workers, they really don't have an email address. Training and knowledge transfer is tremendously difficult. And remote support and help, and not just during the pandemic. The pandemic just created that tremendous visibility of the problem, but it has been a problem also to support people through time and space constraints. And to illustrate a little bit what that means, I like to quote Elon Musk when he mentioned during the Tesla Model 3 assembly process that he was deep in production hell. Well, I know what that means for 20 years of my career scaling and growing manufacturing companies. And what that means really is that every disruption, everything that can go wrong will go wrong, and it's affecting delivery, quality, safety, and safety. And just in these manufacturing industries itself, it's accounting for $650 billion a year of eroding profits. And this is the solution. We basically came with the Essential Connected Worker platform. I will show you a 20-second clip because I don't want to take a lot of your time, and I can definitely give you these after the presentation so you can watch that at your leisure. But basically what we do, we connect workers to each other. We enable them to transfer or propagate knowledge step by step to others. And if they get in trouble, they can ask for help with like an OnStar button. That enables quick reaction, identification, containment, and prevention of fire. So that's basically the anatomy in a problem manufacturing. If you get that problem discovered in real time, you have a big probability of avoiding a disruption. And the most important thing, identifying automatically that anomaly creates a lot of visibility, and then you have a lot of predictive, preventative data. I'm going to turn the volume off. There is really just music in here, but I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what our system does. As you can see, the label identification of assets, having the ability to immediately pull diagnosis on equipment, and then basically enable people with an execution management system that guides them with how-to videos step by step, and also allows them to capture information in real time. That is what creates true visibility, execution management, and then a learning system as well. In the interest of time, I will continue with the presentation. And this is the reason why labor-intensive companies are racing to invest, to connect their workers to their assets or machines. The market that has been created with this megatrend is basically what we know as Industrial Internet of Things, Industry 4.0, and that's growing at a 30% CAGR every year. And these are pre-pandemic market research numbers. We have seen a tremendous acceleration on this market. This is what is creating the sale wind behind our sales. The way we make our customers tremendously successful, we basically enable operational excellence. For every dollar they invest in our systems, in our solution, we provide them at least with 10 times or $10 of unlock hidden value. And the way we do this, basically dramatic reduction on scrap downtime, quality issues, and lost days by basically uncovering this hidden factory. Unlike another competitors, I think that we are positioned uniquely where we are worker-centric instead, unlike a machine-centric solution that is most of our competitors' approach. Very easy and frictionless onboarding and unlocking value really takes our customers into a best ROI, which is a function of the time invested, the value invested initially, and the value we create. Our business model basically software as a service, and we target labor-intensive companies, industrial age companies in manufacturing, supply chain in US and Mexico. Our pricing is basically around a worker, $25 per month per worker. And we package that basically with a minimum of 25 licenses, creating a little bit less than $10,000 per month entry point, or per year, I'm sorry. And again, we encourage wall-to-wall adoption and harvesting from that point. During the pandemic, we had a tremendous opportunity to position ourselves. This became a really big pain point, not being connected to the workforce. And we took the opportunity to accelerate our customer acquisition. We overmanage these metrics to create value to our shareholders. We are in pace to get to $1 million by the end of this year in annual recurring revenue. We doubled our annual recurring revenue from last quarter. And I think that we are going to overshoot that, with 2 million based on the harvest and what we already have in customer acquisition. And our gross margin is better than 90%. We have been very intentional to bring brand awareness. We're the subject of a business case with Harvard Business School. We're working with EY to connect to their middle market customer base, and we are a technology partner to AWS. We intend to create tremendous value to our shareholders. Companies in our space are valued anything from 15 to 20 times revenue based on previous deal value. And that's how we intend to create a substantial valuation by 2024. We have been very fortunate to raise 90% of our seed round. $2 million has been institutional investors. And we're getting ready for a Series A soon. So we're very, very fortunate to have attracted those investors. And the last part of my presentation, we really want to talk about our mission. We believe that if we enable workers to create additional value for their companies, they should be able to capture more. That the productivity now is visible, so they can have a better impact in their lives and their community. So we're very connected to the United Nations Development Goals. So thank you so much for the privilege of your time. I will stop my presentation right now to give room for your questions. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, David. Very informative presentation. For feedback, let's go in the order that everyone introduced themselves. So Lindsay, we're going to go ahead and start with you. What kind of feedback do you have for David? Unmute.
Thanks, Sandy. Well, gosh, I don't know if we have to go serially, but since you tapped me, I had a hard time determining exactly what the product was. I think that there's a number of different ways to start a presentation. You can start with, problem solution or a market opportunity that's compelling. And, I think that we started here today with kind of a short discourse on a really super compelling personal story, which is engaging. But I think that the kind of issue for me was figuring out exactly what the company did. And I was trying to place it. And I think that's one of the things that venture investors do, or media, is they try and compare something to something else, some other category that they understand. So, I think later in the presentation, I kind of responded to the IoT thing. Obviously the SaaS market stuff was a strong signal, but, kind of the pictures and the video and stuff like that, I don't really understand whether it's software, hardware, what the use case is in the product. And I think that that's a missed opportunity. And, fundamentally, in order to categorize an investment and place it and kind of frame kind of whether we're personally interested, whether we're interested in pursuing a project in this area, we got to have an understanding of what's the unmet need and how does it fit. And I think that's probably the feedback that I have that would be most helpful, is being highly specific about that early, so that you anchor someone to something that is kind of intelligible to them, is one of the goals of any investor presentation. And I would say, I think you should do better on that.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. I really appreciate your feedback. And is this a process where I can respond to Lindsay and show him a little bit more about what his feedback was, or should I wait at the end?
Yep, not right now. You're listening. That's all you get to do right now.
Super. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Lindsay. Chris, how about you? Would you like to give some feedback?
Yeah, David, you had some really impressive logos that you sprinkled into the document. I can appreciate too, 10 minutes is very fast and very constraining as to what you can cover versus a true sit down investor pitch, if you will. But I saw some really great logos: FCA, Whirlpool, ZF, PepsiCo, handful of others. I think one area that maybe even touches on a point that Lindsay made is, to the extent that you can use any of these as a case study or story that conveys the product, conveys the process of how you got into those customers and what results you've been seeing out of those, whether that be specific tangibles around we improved quality X, we reduced turnover Y, any sort of metrics that add some additional depth to those aspects would be, I think it would be helpful in just generally telling the story. And that's a great way to sometimes introduce not only the product, but also the process in which you sell the product into those organizations. Because naturally, as an investor, I start to go down the sales motion topic as well, and wanting to know who you're selling to, what the integration process looks like, the lead time, is there a pilot, is there a contract afterwards? And that's a good point to sort of, introduce that topic and start those discussions as well. But certainly in 10 minutes, a little bit of a fire hose, but it sounds like there's some interesting aspects behind the company overall.
Thanks so much, Chris. Really appreciate your feedback.
Wonderful, Chris. How about you, Rob? What would you like to say?
Yeah, I thought you did a really nice job. I think the comments from the other two reviewers are great. This is not an area of expertise for me, so you get a little bit of a feedback from someone who needs more explanation, about the market and the actual solution. So maybe I'm a worst case scenario. I think you started out with your team and kind of talking about your background and your team. I'd characterize it. I think that's a great idea, to the extent that you can express that your team has done this before, if you will, or has the specific experiences that you have prove or suggest that you can do this again. And at least based on the description, you've done something big, but based on the description that you described, it wasn't clear to me that, I could take at face value that the team could kind of repeat that again, if you understand what I'm saying. So, I think the 10-minute constraint is dramatic. And so you have to, kind of think about it in terms of threes, right? What can you really describe or have an investor take home in 10 minutes? I think you did a nice job of expressing, hey, there's an opportunity in the marketplace, and you've shown that you've been able to develop recurring revenues. And I think there's a lot of other details that you can, kind of, get into, but with 10 minutes, all that you can do is hope that an investor is going to kind of, as you walk off the stage or what have you, is going to kind of come up to you, hand a business card and say, hey, I'd like to learn more. I mean, that's your only objective with a 10-minute presentation. And I think you got that. I mean, to the extent that you can express there's a problem, you've started on a solution, and the solution is sufficient that at least some very respectable companies are delivering some revenues for you, makes it interesting, at least. And so at least for someone who's ignorant in the space, I would have said, hey, I'd like to know more. That's so I think mission accomplished in that respect. The gaps that I would continue to think about are, is this a team that, I think can deliver in that respect? And I'll just characterize it, not to criticize the team, but I didn't walk away from your presentation of the team confident that, man, this is a team that can really, kind of hit a home run with this, so maybe a place that you can augment a little bit. So that's my feedback.
Thank you so much, Rob. Thank you.
Yeah.
So panel, we still have some time. You gave your initial. Any follow-up? More things you want to suggest? Any praise you want to give? Any more critique? Jump right on in. Everybody's leaning back. Lindsay's like, nope.
Well, no, I was just going to say, I mean, we don't have to be fenced in. I mean, we can have a discussion with our case, with our patient here. But, I think that a lot of the comments, it does seem like in a very short presentation mode, you gotta really shorten up and get to the 2 or 3 points that matter very clearly and very early. And so, it's weird, and we're all doing this now probably for a long time now, and maybe we'll be doing it for another year. But I think that getting to the point really quickly on, what the product is, what the market is, what the team is, wherever you want to start, whatever the point is, they make your value go up. They make the deal more financeable. It's more intelligible. It saves you time because you can cut through whether people are interested or not. And I think that's the real mission here. So I agree with Rob's comments, particularly at the end of, 10 minutes is a short period of time.
Thank you so much, Mason.
Anything else from our panel? Chris, you've unmuted.
Sandra, can we
Say
ask
something.
questions? Yeah, can we ask questions?
Yes, you may. In fact,
Yeah.
I was just getting ready to say, are there any questions, especially?
Well, that's even better. Go ahead.
Questions,
Yeah,
yes.
there you go. David, you'll get a chance to respond as well. I'm curious, like, in your opinion, why is, paper persisted as long as it has? It's not like these are large enterprises that have been pitched by other sort of workforce efficiency solutions, on the job, and paper is, continue to win out. It's the same way how email and Microsoft Excel has won a lot of enterprise use cases over a long period of time. But just what's your perspective on that, and why now is the point for companies to start transitioning?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question, Chris. And I can tell you that there are many factors to that, but I think that at least 2 are the ones that I identify as being the most pervasive. The first one, I think, is the generational gap. I still see managers in their 50s, 60s running these companies. And that's great, amazing wisdom, amazing experience, but they're not used to consuming information digitally. They still demand, I want my newspaper. So that's one thing that is really pervasive. And then the second thing, we are typically a manufacturing industry is a culture of command and control, and everything is rigid. And basically, these systems are extremely, extremely unflexible. So there is a constant change in manufacturing. All this hidden factory is basically dynamic. You have new products, you have new launches, you have problems that you have to solve, you have standardized quickly on the fly. And the existing systems are not ideal for that. They take days, even weeks to retrofit with new processes. So the easiest way, the less friction right now, is just do a piece of paper, put it out there, and tell people how to do it, and basically direct them like that. I think those are some of the fundamental reasons. And until I think the last 2-3 years, where it become cheaper to connect your machines and truly digitize that input and that monitoring, I think that it was still the easiest way to get it done with paper. That's my appreciation of the problem as an insider.
Hey, can I ask a follow-up there real quick? So you started out by talking about how at home, you used the word at home, and it was interesting to me because originally, like lots going on, you're looking at people's faces, you got a presentation going, the whole thing. But did I space out? But it seemed like you were talking about at home and facilitating that for people that don't have the right infrastructure. And then you were showing, kind of the video, or excuse me, the animation, and it was IoT, and it looked like shop floor management kind of stuff. Why do I have both of those things connected in my mind, and they seem dissimilar?
Yeah, maybe they didn't do a good job to pitch people that don't have a choice to work from home. I really didn't use the at home, but maybe I sent the wrong signal there. What I mean by people that don't have a choice to work from home, for example, we have a choice to work from home. We're using Teams, we're talking to each other, we're seeing each other, we're communicating, we're coordinating, we're asking and answering questions. When you are working as a frontline worker, you don't have a choice. You have to be on the job, in front of a machine or in front of your workstation, or doing whatever you're supposed to do. And I think that when you look at that point of view, the number of solutions, the tools that workers have to communicate, coordinate, and follow up are extremely limited. And that is basically what the intent for solution is, because the space and time constraints, when you're in a 1 million square feet facility, when you're a very complex supply chain that has facilities that are 100 miles, 1,000 miles away, that communication between frontline workers is constrained, that coordination is constrained, and it has to go up and down, so it's very inefficient. There is no peer-to-peer communication, truly, unless he's next door or next workstation. So that's the situation, the problem, and the solution I tried to convey, Lindsay. I don't know if I did a good job with that or not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And David, just another question too. Kudos on having a point of acceleration during the pandemic as well. Looked like you added a lot of logos, and I saw that one of your products is Safely Pass. I'm assuming part of that, and maybe I'm wrong, is related to just sort of environmental safety, or maybe not environmental safety, but health safety of the workers in the midst of a pandemic. Is that something that you see continuing going forward, or is that sort of a one-time moment to really capture new enterprise accounts?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Chris. I think the strategy behind that, first, Safely Pass is to smart workstation like Messenger is to Facebook. So it is part of the platform, but it's a very simple reused product. And what happened during the pandemic, if you remember, the music stopped for manufacturers. Most of them, if they were not essential, they basically had a restraint order to lockdown. And so the next challenge was, how do we get back to work safely? And how do we comply with all these CDC guidelines and that scale globally too? So Safely Pass basically was launched very quickly to address that need to do digital monitoring, digital prevention, and digital verification. Think about a boarding pass to get on a plane, same process very quickly for a worker going through the doors and then knowing when to go, where to go. But we knew that was not going to be sustainable. The question was not if the COVID restrictions were going to slow down. It was just a matter of when. And quite honestly, the last quarter of last year, the acceleration in the industry or manufacturing sector was tremendous, was the highest in the last 10 years. So that really signaled a shift for us to position Safely Pass as an environmental safety and governance solution, especially now with social sustainability, labor equality, rights, and safety. Safely Pass was positioned to do the same thing with digital permits, digital verification, digital monitoring, but for safety and workplace compliance. You need the same thing when people are working on heights, when people are working with heavy equipment. You gotta verify they have credentials. they have the right time at the right place, and they're doing the right thing. So that's why we didn't call it COVID Pass, because we knew it was not going to stick. And so now all the use cases that are being applied to Safely Pass, for example, Pepsi adopted Safely Pass for that same reason. So I don't think COVID is going to stick for long, but we still do that because what I see is what is sticking for long. Companies like GM, companies especially that had already the ESG disclosure, are not lowering their protection standards for people, saying there's going to be another pandemic, so why don't we be ready by now and leave these controls in place? So hopefully I addressed your question with that, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Thank you.
All right. Well, as I mentioned, this is a little bit of an unusual KVT. We would normally have 2 more presenters, but we had a couple emergencies that cropped up last minute yesterday. And so I'm afraid David was our only presenter today. So I will give you all the gift of time today. We are going to end our meeting a little bit early. So first of all, I'd like to thank David for presenting for us today, for sharing your innovative company, and for being open, to the feedback and discussion, because it does help all of us learn when we're able to watch one person going through this process. I also would like to thank my investors today, Lindsay, Chris, and Rob. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us and provide your insightful feedback. It's always valuable to hear perspectives from people who are in the field doing it every day. And lastly, I would like to thank all of you in the audience for joining us today. I hope that you will join us again on October 26th, when we will have another Kalamazoo Venture Tuesday meeting where we will feature 3 new companies. Hopefully 3 will actually be there, and 3 other investors who will be our panelists. You can register for that event at our website, which I am dropping in the chat right now. So feel free to click on that to get to our website and see all of the events that are coming up. And again, thank everyone for your participation and your attendance. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope that we see you next time.
Thanks, Sandy.
Yep.
Thank you so much, everyone, for the